Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to not the Planet FPL Game Week 33 deadline stream, but it is live, and for the benefit of those listening back to those on the audio, it's live at 6 p.m. on Friday, April the 12th. No deadline stream for me tomorrow because deadline tomorrow, I'll be on the Tyne. I wouldn't have just got off a train. I'll be off a train at hopefully just before 10 o'clock actually in the morning. I'll be in the away end in the Gods at Newcastle. But you might even see me on the telly. I'm front row, upper tier of those Gods. So keep a lookout of me. Just right of goal from where I'd look. I'll be left for goal for you on camera. Hopefully taking advantage of Newcastle's injury hit team. But I suspect it will still be a very difficult game, because they're still very strong at home, the Toon Army. So this is not the deadline stream. What I will do is the deadline stream as per usual, as if it was kind of deadline, but you're not going to get any team leaks, I don't suppose, between now and 7 p.m. UK time, and I will answer as many of the questions in the chat up to a hard deadline of 7 p.m. As this is also going out as an audio podcast, I will not go quite as fast as I normally do on the deadline stream. For those watching live on the stream, thank you for joining in. Smash a like, hit the sub button. It's all very much appreciated. A couple of bits before I go into the questions. So captaincy for me this week, I think it's Haaland versus Salah, generally speaking. I mean, Palmer's probably the third option. For me, with Luton's injury hit defence, they may not have a fit centre-back tomorrow unless someone tells me that Erling Haaland is not starting, and I will be captain Haaland. Mo Salah will be my vice-captain. My team currently, as it stands, is as follows. Areola in goal rather than Dubravka. That's after the recently revealed news by David Moyes that Areola could return on Sunday. I don't think he will, but I'm going to leave him there most likely, just in case he is. Back three of Gusto, Porro, Gabriel, Salah, Palmer, Foden, Son, Muniz, Haaland and Tony. The bench is a bit crap. I'd expect Dubravka to play. I've got Bailey, Pau Torres and Alfie Doughty. I have 2 free transfers and they must be used because my strategy is free hit 34, wildcard 35. Remember, my bench boost was used in game week 1, so my 35 wildcard might look a little bit different to the majority wildcard in there. One transfer I can say with almost certainty is I'll be buying Brian and Boomo. That will be for Leon Bailey. That would push Rodrigo Muniz to the bench. The final change is probably going to wait very close to deadline, but what I will tell you is players under consideration for me. One is Matt Sells of Nottingham Forest. Yes, a possible goalkeeper transfer. That is purely because there's only 2 teams I'm backing for a clean sheet this week, and Nottingham Forest are one of them. I can't afford the other one, David Raya. I will have 0.4 to play with. Defensively, if I make a change there, which I may do, particularly around perhaps doubts around Gabriel, although I suspect, and I don't know, that he'll probably be fine. Rico Lewis is the player of choice for me. Pretty confident he starts for Manchester City tomorrow. So that's the defensive one I'm looking at. If there is confirmation that Phil Foden is ruled out, the one I would like to go to, I think, is Luis Diaz of Liverpool. There is a case under that scenario though. What I may do is go Foden to Boomo, and instead of going Rico Lewis, I may go Torres or Doughty to William Saliba to give me a little bit of insurance. That would move Pedro Porro to my bench most likely. I would probably still play Muniz. So generally I can't tell you my second transfer because I don't know what it's going to be, but it's likely to be one of those options, I think. If I got late word that Haaland was benched, I'm not sure what I'd do. I haven't really thought about that too much yet, but what I certainly can say is I would obviously move the captaincy to Mohamed Salah. For those watching on screen, you will see my top 10 captaincy preferences and my correct score predictions for all 10 games this week. To the left of me, in the bottom right hand corner below my team as it stands, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams. And also below me, right at the bottom ticker, you'll see the upcoming next 5 game weeks. We've only got 6 to go, but the next 5 game weeks for all 20 teams. The FDR is based on FPL's FDR. Blue fixtures represent a double game week, and above that you'll see the benching dilemmas graphic where there is 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order pages 1 to 4. You'll find goalkeepers on page 5. Right, without further ado, let's get into the questions. Therefore, Billy Taylor is first. Says, Wagwan Jimbo. I don't have Haaland or any chips left. Would you use 2 free transfers to go from Morris and Son to Haaland and an under 5.5 mid, thinking Garnacho or Ben Brereton Diaz? with no chips left, Garnacho, mate, all day long. That's fine for you in 34 with a single fixture, Sheffield United at home. Decent 35 fixture, double 37. You can get good use out of that. So, yeah, I genuinely would go ahead and make that move. The only caveat I would say to that, Billy, without your chips, what will be your plan if you want your Ming Sun back in game week 35? And I suspect you probably will do. That's the only caveat to that. But otherwise, yes, I'm quite happy with that. Rob Pick says, hi mate, 2 free transfers for 1 week punts. Boomo will be 1, you copycat. Says, who would be other good defender or midfielder 1 week punts? Do I need to buy a goalkeeper to replace Kelleher or Areola? I've predicted Alisson to start, actually. I don't, again, there's no intel on that. It's just a sneaky that the timing might be right. He is back in training. What concerns me with that is actually because Kelleher made a mistake on the first goal last night. I almost feel like he's more likely to play again. But it's also possible that Klopp goes, that's enough. The big man's back fit, get him back in goal. And I think if he's ready, it's different for goalkeepers to outfield players, isn't it? You don't necessarily need that match fitness. If he's free from pain, he probably plays, and I suspect he may do. So under your circumstance, Rob, you may want a goalkeeper. David Raya would be top choice for me. I've said Matt Sells, but that's just a personal opinion that I fancy Forest for a clean sheet this week. Ignore City. I guess the Sanchez illness puts a bit of doubt on him at the week on Monday night, and we'd assume Petrovic would still start. That would be a little bit risky. I fancy Sheffield United to score at Brentford, but on fixture it would be difficult to argue against Mark Flecken. De Zerbi appears to have confirmed today that Bart Verbruggen will play again for Brighton. I think you're going to want to go into something that's absolutely secure though, isn't it? So from the best of that, it's rare, isn't it? And then I don't mind Sells. As said, I don't think there's too many others that really appeal. Flecken, I guess, is another one. It might be, Rob, that's the right solution for you. As said, defender for me, I think Rico Lewis. Arsenal defender first, by the way. In my circumstance, wouldn't be able to get there. Rico Lewis, for me, works perfect when I'm pretty confident he plays tomorrow. I said Luis Diaz. I think the 1 week punt obviously didn't start last night. Good fixture Sunday. I suspect he gets the majority of the game. Palace are a team that tire against quick players later in games, I think. I'd like to think he'd still be on the pitch at that stage, although no guarantee. So Diaz. But yeah, your solution, Rob. Mine's better because I've definitely got Dubravka coming in the team, haven't I? For you might not have a goalkeeper. You'll be gutted if Kelleher starts, though. I'd seek some opinion from some Liverpool fans. Get on our Liverpool Slack channel, Rob, and ask them who they think will be in goal at the weekend, because I think their opinion on that would probably be better than mine. If they're concerned, it probably is a goalkeeper transfer, mate. Ethan says, evening, James, looking at a goalkeeper transfer to double in 34. Any thoughts? The main two I'm considering are Raya and Kelleher. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Thank you, mate. Wouldn't be going Keller at the moment. David Raya, I can't give you a reason not to go for under your circumstance, mate. Can't give you a reason not to. That's the choice, mate. Gary Robinson says, feel free to ignore if already on the list, but who'd start over Garnacho or Maddison? Have a good weekend, mate. You too, pal. I've got them literally right next to each other, and I've got Garnacho just above an underperforming James Maddison at the moment. FPL Knuckles says, hello James, on wildcard 35, do you think Salah and Son both should go to maximise a potential bench boost game at 37? Sorry, he's corrected that and said, sorry, I meant Saka, not Son. Yeah, that wouldn't have made sense. Do I think Salah and Saka should go to maximise a potential bench boost 37? There is nothing wrong with bench boosting with those guys in 37, right? Absolutely none. They're both, there's every chance to be going for the title. It's two tricky fixtures, but I think Villa fans will tell you they haven't been great defensively recently, and I don't think I need to tell you, or any Manchester United fan to tell you, that United have been struggling defensively recently. That may improve with the likes of perhaps Lisandro Martinez, perhaps back by that point, but yeah, I don't know. If you get a doubler, you guaranteed the double in 37, and you got to think of the consequence of other side, right? Having Salah and Saka in 36 and 38 possibly looks a lot stronger now, and particularly because the results in this midweek gone. So with Liverpool losing 3-0 last night, I mean, it's already made me think, yeah, there's every chance I'll keep Salah around on my wild card. Purely because I think 36 and 38 would have been a big concern for him. 36 falling in between the two Europa semi-finals, and in 38 possibly falling 3 days before a Europa League final. I'd have been concerned about that. That concern would obviously go away for him. That concern may still exist for Bukayo Saka, so I think Bournemouth at home 36. If Arsenal make it through against Bayern, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play that game. I could see Arsenal picking a team similar to what they picked against Luton under that circumstance. So a little bit dependent on what happens this week. But yeah, when you're thinking, maximise for 37, yeah, but are you under maximising your possibility for 36 and 38 and 35, particularly in Salah's case, maybe, by not going with those players? So it's not just about 37. Is it optimum to have 15 doublers in 37? Yeah, sure. But if it's going to make your team inferior for the other weeks around it, yeah, it needs a rethink. The honest answer is, my friend, I haven't decided what I'm going to do with those two players yet in 35, and I won't be wasting my headspace on it too much because there's plenty of football to get through in the next couple of weeks. FPL Brady says, talk to me about Pedro for free hitters. So João Pedro for a free hit. I'm sure there probably are a few free hitting this week. My instinct is if I was free hitting this week, I'd want a front three of Haaland, Alvarez, and probably Tony or Isak. Probably that. That's probably what I'd want as a front three under that circumstance. So probably a no on João Pedro. I suspect with Enciso out as well, we might end up playing a wide role. I don't mind it as a punt, like particularly if you found a great team and you're stuck, I've got 5.5 left for a forward or whatever. Sure. Like under that circumstance, I've got him predicted to play. I don't mind it. He wouldn't be top of the shop of choices for me though under that circumstance. Patrick Cliver, is it the real one? It's his best defender for this week and building towards game week 37 with no money restriction at all. Because you're buying specifically now, tempted maybe to say Ruben Diaz will play the majority for Manchester City. We don't really know where we're at, Vaki and Cole Walker at the moment, and I'm a little concerned that Vardy had a precautionary withdrawal last weekend and then played in the Bernabeu when most thought he wouldn't. Is there a chance he gets left out tomorrow? I've got him predicted to play, but I think that's a possibility. John Stones would be very surprised if he plays tomorrow. So on that basis, it's probably Diaz. If buying at this point, you don't really want to invest in Newcastle this week. I wouldn't mind Dalot, maybe as an alternative one. Get that ready for 35 and take it or leave it if you play this week. If you're really obsessing about thinking that way, then Van Heck or Dunk would be reasonable ones to buy if you really need it for this week. But you may want investment again between now and 37 in that area of your team. So there's a few for you there, mate. Jerry Darmy says, hello James, with the recent update on Gabriel, would you do Aki to 8 Nori with my only FH, I presume it's meant to be FT, free transfer. Other backup is Munoz and starting Gabriel Saliba 8 Nori with Gusto first bench. Again, I know he didn't play last week and I was telling everyone, play him. But it would be the same message in nearly all scenarios. Just play Malo Gusto. Of the defensive players I've got on the bench in dilemmas, he comes out top. I've not bothered putting any Arsenal players there for reference because I assume benching them would not be a good idea. Aki to 8 Nori. You can't even be sure that 8 Nori is going to play. We know that he's going to travel with the squad because that's what Gary O'Neill said. But it might be how do you feel in the morning? It could be a case of that. So, like 8 Nori owners for the majority are probably going to play this week, but I don't think I'd be buying him this week, Jerry. I'm not overly keen on that personally. I can certainly get the will and the want to move on Aki, but I wouldn't be buying 8 Nori this week. Again, I don't know what your strategy is. Sure, 8 Nori for 34, great. If you need it to play tomorrow, what else have you got there? Munoz is 5th defender for this week. It's not going to kill you, is it? I think with Gabriel Saliba, 8 Nori, I'd probably bench him, play Gusto. That would probably be my take. And if you get no Gabriel, no Gusto, no 8 Nori, you're mad unlucky. Stefan says, hi, I'm planning on selling Maddison to a player to cover the next 2 or 3 game weeks. Do you prefer Eze or Diaz or someone else in that price range? Thanks. Yeah, I think priority-wise, if you've not got 3 Liverpool, that's what I'd want to be sorting out. The difficulty with buying now, like I've mentioned, Diaz, I think is a really interesting one-week punt for me. It kind of falls nicely. Didn't start last night. You assume he will on Sunday, but knowing what minutes you'll get across 34, 35 is tough. Whereas you would expect across 34 and 35, with the double in there, you probably would expect, I don't know, sort of to 20 to 30 minutes out of Eze across those 3 games. That might even be an underestimate, possibly. So I get that, but you don't really want to buy Eze this week. So it probably depends how much you want this week. Can Eze score at Anfield? Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So I am probably more likely to have Eze than Diaz on free hit, but obviously there's not a choice in terms of which one I'm buying this week. So if it was me right now, depends. I wouldn't want to start Eze this week. I'd probably go Eze under your circumstance, I think. Swiss Wavy says, evening all, no question, James. Good luck with your travel tomorrow. Thank you very much, mate. Patrick Gordot says, KDB about to rise in price. I won't be able to afford him if he does. Should I go for him tonight or wait for leaks? If he goes up, I'd have to get someone else, Alvarez or another. I'm on free hit 34, wildcard 35. There is plenty of alternative players that you can pick, mate. I wouldn't even be certain he starts tomorrow. I really wouldn't look at the idea of he didn't start in the Bernabeu as he will definitely start this weekend. I really wouldn't. Particularly with a slight doubt about Foden. It's way more important that De Bruyne be ready for Wednesday night, I think. So I wouldn't look at him as a certainty to start tomorrow. So without some sort of confirmation, I would not be buying him, mate. So if you've got to let it go, let it go. Under your strategy, there's so many other good players you can buy. You can afford nearly every other midfielder in the game, right? Do you truly, truly deep down your heart know that Kevin De Bruyne is going to be the best? There's loads of alternatives there. Patrick Clive, I've done that once already, mate. JP says, do you think KDB starts? Is he a good transfer in free hit 34? I just covered, I think with Manchester City, let's be real here. We're waiting for the morning, aren't we? That's why I can't tell you what I'm doing. It's highly likely we're going to know, and it probably is going to be, in the build up to 11 o'clock. And it's a possibility that I might even not use my second transfer because I don't get the info and I'm going to watch Tottenham. I need to make sure I'm sitting down somewhere, or I'm going to take a chance and look at something else, which would maybe mean not buying a City player. But I kind of need that late news before deadline for Foden specifically, really. I'm bet me life that will be the 10:59 news is Phil Foden, isn't it? So it is what it is. Murphy says, hi James, as you've alluded to on the pod, I'm free hit 34, bench boost 37 and stuck with 2 free transfers. My plan was Saka to Foden and Muniz to Jackson, but the knock is a worry. Saka to Johnson, or is that too far? Cheers. I mean, I wouldn't be keen to sell Bukayo Saka this way. Even Arteta, I think, said that he trained well today, so I wouldn't be keen to move him on and be pretty confident he starts on Sunday, and I think Arsenal win fairly comfortably, so I wouldn't be looking to move him on. Do you have the wild card left? If not, can you improve things on your bench to look further on? Even if it's, I'll get Dan Burn in now to help you with the 35 to 37 period, stuff like that. I definitely don't hate the idea of getting Johnson. As said previously, if you obviously get that in place without the wild card, that's giving you 2 extra doublers for game week 35. So I can understand the appeal of that. I just would maybe look at something else if you can, rather than selling Saka. Hasselbanki's win says, James, you still back the 2 English teams to make the semi-finals of the Champions League. Also, should Eric Dyer make the England squad? I didn't watch the game, so I can't really comment on Eric Dyer's performance, but Clayton said that he wasn't impressed. I watched Madrid and City the other night. No, for me, he shouldn't make the England squad, personally. Do I still think City and Arsenal will both go through? Yeah, but it is, I mean, the bookies have got Bayern and Arsenal as a 50-50 coin flip now. I can see Bayern and Arsenal going to extra time. Who that favours from there, difficult to say. It's a coin flip, but yeah, currently I've still got Arsenal to go through. I obviously very much think that Manchester City will go through. King of Mandalore says, hi James, would you start Dallo or 8 Nori? Probably Dallo, because I know what I'm getting. Tough that. You don't want to leave 8 Nori out with a decent fixture if he's going to play in the front 3, and I am predicting him to start. Tough that. I mean, what's the chance for United clean sheet at Bournemouth tomorrow? Not hugely. It feels like a more likely one, whereas a possibility. I'm trying to ask myself, what would I not forgive myself for more? Would it be playing 8 Nori and then not starting, or playing Dallo and it being shit? That's a tough one, that. I play at 8 Nori, I think. It was a really, really close one. Really, really close one. Maybe 8 Nori. Maybe someone in the Wolves community will have some information on him tonight. Dermot Whelan says, hi James, bench one of Gordon, Isak or Garnacho. Garnacho very comfortably. Yeah, I definitely don't be benching Isak. You'll have chances tomorrow, and I suspect Anthony Gordon will as well. Amy F says, evening, have 2 free transfers and free hit 34. Is Werner a viable option for Solanke? Ready for bench boost 37. Not sure about Højlund. Also punt Gordon in for Odegaard, thank you. It feels a little early to be buying Werner with specific minds on 37, I think. I also think in between now and then you're potentially missing out on quite a number of really good forwards, possibly like Isak and Højlund as a couple of examples. So I wouldn't be keen on that move at this stage, personally, Amy. And I think Solanke will have opportunities against United tomorrow, won't he? So Werner is not better this week than Solanke. Let's sell it like that. For Greendale says, hi mate, Onana or Ederson for Raya this week? Free at 34 and need a nail doubler in 37 for bench boost. Want Ederson, but will he be back? Okay. For me, if I was free hitting this week, I'd want David Raya in goal, I think. That would probably be my choice. So I get what you want to do there. You want a keeper in, but are you making your team weak? Is there no alternative than selling the keeper this week? I would not want to make that change this week. The information you could get on City could be great. What if Ortega starts the next 3 games? Then what? Are we all looking at Ortega in 35? I think most of you know what I think of Ederson as an asset anyway, and he's not nailed anyway. What's to say City go out of the title race and then Ortega plays at the end anyway? I can't be having Ederson as a buy now. Don't even know if he's going to play this weekend. Onana I get. Onana's the best one from your perspective of you definitely want the player. Yeah, Onana will do that. Good fixtures. 34, 35, 36. Fine. The 37 double. So Onana if you have to, but just play Raya this week, please. Patrick Gordart says, your top 3 differential 1 week punts. Okay. Luis Diaz, Brian and Boom, I mean, the 2 kind of offensive ones I'm really looking at. To repeat, Rico Lewis, I think, from a defensive position. Although I suspect we may get beat tomorrow, if the day goes very well, expect Brennan Johnson to do well. I'll leave it at that. Pajita says, good luck for all tomorrow and this game week. I'm benching Solanke or Gordon this week. I'm ready for benching Payne. He's on the benching dilemmas. They're the top 2. Pick your poison from that. FPL Cottney Red says, on a free hit 34, wildcard 35, so need a 1 week punt. Have 2 free transfers. Difficult as you don't know my team. Who are your favourite picks for each position? I have Keller and Areola, so ideally a keeper to replace. Yeah, Matt Sells maybe if you can't get up to Raya. That's the one I'm going to say again. Patrick Lawson says, hey James, need a Richards replacement up to 5.3 on non-free hit 34 and bench boost 37. Need someone with double in 34 and good single in 37 or vice versa. Okay, so I mean the 2 teams that spring to mind for me are Manchester United and Everton, one on kind of each strategy. So you must be able to get to Dallo on that. That's the one that feels like it appeals actually. Sheffield United at home 34, it's likely to play the games. Everton's fixtures are good, and if you have to play Branthwaite, Tarkowski, Mikalenko at home to Sheffield United in 37, well, then it's the best fixture. So either way round, it's those 2 teams that appeal most. You'll probably ultimately be defined, Patrick, by what your preference is on strategy. My instinct is to say Dallo to you. Primarily because I prefer the bench boost at the end if you're not brilliant set up for it already. Jerry Domergue said, since I'm not free hitting 34 but in 37, who you get between Eze or Diaz for Son in 34, and I reverse either those 2 to Son in 35. I probably Eze based on, I'm just going to skip that, Jerry, because I kind of went Eze versus Diaz for someone else's question earlier. Tiffy says, I went to sleep listening to Not the Deadline stream, but how can you be asleep? You've just typed it, mate. Stephen Moore says, hi James, would you bring in João Pedro or Højlund for Solanke this week? Need to make transfer before free hit 34 on bench boost 37. Cheers. If it were me, Højlund. Just because of the better land in game week 35 of landing into Burnley at home. That's the influence of the choice. John says, hi James, good luck this week, champ. Start which keeper, Pickford or Vicario? Thanks. I don't think it'll matter, buddy. I don't think it'll matter. It's probably Vic. Probably. Just purely in the sense of, I mean, if I said one's more likely, you look at how Tottenham performed at Villa in a kind of similarly difficult game. Is the return there for Vic rather than, can you see Everton winning 1-0 Monday night? Probably only Chelsea fans can. It's probably Vic, but wouldn't be overly confident in either. Yahya says, hello James, pick one. Doing Bowen to Havertz and playing Watkins, or doing Watkins to Darwin and playing Sarabia, and delaying the Bowen to Arsenal mid-move for more info, or just doing both for -4 now. Okay, so Bowen to Havertz and Watkins to Nunes. I mean, look, I don't know your strategy here, so that's pretty important. But can you go Isak instead of Nunes? It depends, right? If you're not free hitting 34, you're going to say Nunes, right? It's probably both is the answer, but subject to your strategy. King of Mandalore says, would you not consider captaining Son? Newcastle defence is wide open with a high line, which Son loves. Yeah, but Newcastle's still a very good football team. Newcastle kept a clean sheet last week with this so-called makeshift backline. It might have been more luck than judgment, particularly in the first half at Fulham. But Tottenham didn't do very well defensively at Fulham. He's not the best choice, is he? Like, could he do well? Yeah, look, if we win like we did at Villa, Son will have a great day. And as I said, I suspect Brennan Johnson will as well. But to say, would I consider him for captaincy over Haaland at home to a Luton that hasn't got a defender? Well, the only reason I'm not doing that, in my opinion, is if I get word that Haaland's not starting. And in which case, the best choice for me is a Mo Salah who got a bit of a break last night. It's straightforward for me, really. FPL Claire E says, hey James, me again. Thanks for your answer on Team News stream earlier. Sign up to Patreon, everyone. Cheers, Claire. Thanks, mate. Says, been thinking, what are your thoughts on McAllister as my under 6 million midfielder? Yeah, don't mind that, Claire. I've forgotten what your strategy was in all seriousness, but if you're heading towards 34, then yeah, absolutely perfectly reasonable. Alexis McAllister in good form, freed up largely by Wataru Endo's positioning. Yep, really don't mind that. You're as likely to get 2 games of him as any other Liverpool attacker, basically, in the double. Adam says, quick question about sources, James. Okay, it says, since the Everton-Liverpool fixture has not gone in double game week 37, what happens to the source that gave you the info that was very likely to be that week? Nothing. It's a friend. And listen, he gave me that information because he was given that information that's what was likely to happen. And I know it was given to me in good faith. So nothing happens to it. Other than, if he gave me that information again, I'd obviously think twice about it. But he's a friend. Nothing happens to him. And he was very apologetic about the information because it proved to not be correct. But I don't reflect on that negatively and think, I wish I'd kept that to myself and not said anything. I've spoken about this before with stuff, right, for content creators. When you're given information, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I got a bit of information that I thought would probably be correct. I shared it. But when I shared it, I also made it very, very clear several times over that I thought the fixture going into game week 37 was absolutely bonkers. And I told that same individual that. But that individual was given a specific date. And if I told you where that information came from, you'd go, oh, yeah, okay, that makes quite a bit of sense. So I'm not going to put that person in trouble, and it doesn't matter now, right? But no, nothing happens to that individual. They gave me the information in good faith. It was discussed over several times. I said it was bonkers when I explained it. It proved that common sense prevailed and it went into game week 34 because it never should have gone into game week 37. So nothing happens. Nothing happens. If it was something like a team leak came to me and it proved to be incorrect, then you just bin that, right? This was very, very different. So no, there's no anger, there's no bitterness about it. It was passed on to me in good faith. I passed it on to you guys in good faith. It proved not to be the case. That's the way it goes sometimes. Mark says, hi James, wildcard 35, bench boost 37. Do you think it's worth to sell Pedro Porro and buy Saliba or White from Arsenal, or wait for leaks if Foden is bench and move to Diaz? I'm trying to work out why Foden is a reference to Diaz. Is that because you've got free City and then if you sell Foden you can go to Diaz? I'm not I'm not sure what the reference is there. I wouldn't. Under your strategy, I would not sell Pedro Porro. Probably it is the big point. So for me, I've got Porro. It's not run through my head to go from Porro to Saliba this week, which I could do. I couldn't actually, by the way, once I bought Boomo, but I could go someone else. Or I could do that first and go, right, I'm not going Boomo, I'll wait for the Foden info. I wouldn't sell, under that circumstance, it's worth saying I've got value in Porro, so that's quite important. But I suspect most people who still got Porro probably do. I wouldn't move him. If you got value involved in it, I wouldn't move him. Jerry Darmy says, I'm interested in your thought process on putting Palmer as third best captaincy ahead of Saka. When Villa has been conceding 1 XG in 24, above 1 XG in 2024, is it due to Saka's early sub versus Palmer's 90 minutes? It's to do with opponent. And yes, I think that there may be a situation in the game, the Arsenal fixture, where it becomes game's won, think about Wednesday. Yes, there's a little bit of that. I backed both teams to score twice, and I'm pretty confident I get 90 minutes of Cole Palmer this time. So there's a little bit of that involved. But they're close as a flip, right? I mean, does it really matter that much? Let's be honest. Does it? Darren Jenkins says, would you bring in 8 Norrie for Doughty from -4? No. Already brought in Gordon for Bowen. Defence is Gusto, Gabriel, Canate, Doughty, Branthwaite. I mean, I would never buy a defender for a -4 unless it was for someone a la like a Trent, or if it was to enable you another move, i.e., I don't know, Maddison to Salah as an example. Just to do a -4 for a defender as an outright when next to nobody's keeping clean sheets. No, I wouldn't bother, mate. I wouldn't do that for an Arsenal defender. Triple Trapped In says, evening James, with 2 free transfers, I'm looking to move on Solanke and one of Doughty or Pau Torres. Do you prefer Tony and 4.5 million defender, or Darwin and Vardiol coming in? What's your strategy, mate? It's so important to begin to answer that question, because if you're looking for a bench boost 34, it's Darwin, isn't it? Under your circumstance. But then you're getting Vardiol in, so probably not. So you free hit in 34. Just on the face of it for this weekend, Tony, for me. That would be my answer. Gazman says, hi James, no chips left. If we hear Foden is bench, replace him this week or play Muniz and have 2 frees next week. Have Son, Salah, Palmer and Saka ready. Good luck this week. Yeah, I think for those without the chips, keep Phil Foden. Would under your that circumstance, yeah, I'd want to keep him around. Even more so if you perhaps free hit in 34. There'll definitely be a temptation if you're a Foden owner and like bench boosting in 34 to go to like Diaz as an example. Like I get that. And that might be that's right for you. But I think generally speaking, for those who own Foden and don't have a wild card left, I'd probably keep him. Brian Lee says, hi James, dead end 34, Areola to Raya this week, bench to Bravka, yeah, can't argue that, or roll and go Porro to second Arsenal defender, and or Son to Havertz in 34, losing a lot on both Spurs players if sell before 34 to buy back. Yeah, I wouldn't do it at this stage. I don't think there's enough upside in that to do that. Seek more information, mate. Aaron Gibbons Plowright, what a great name, says, hi James, who do you think the best goalkeeper under 5 million for the next 2 game weeks is? The next 2 game weeks specifically, under what price? Under 5. The problem is, like with Pickford and Henderson, looks shit this week, doesn't it? It's got to be a doubler, isn't it? Gervich. No, don't do that. Nah, not to buy Neto now either. Sarr, good fixture 35 as well. I don't know if that falls into the category or not. I'm not certain what his price is. I suspect he's 5. It's not great. Probably Pickford. It's not great at all. Combining the 2 weeks is not great. FTLOL podcast this afternoon. James, a hypothetical for you. Arsenal win the league and Tottenham finish 4th, or Arsenal finish 2nd, 3rd and Tottenham 5th. Well, Tottenham finish 5th and 5th is enough to qualify for the Champions League. It's obvious, isn't it? Okay, look, I know you're answering that question based on fifth maybe not being enough to qualify for the Champions League. Look, I'm a Tottenham fan first before I'm an Arsenal fan hater. So yeah, if it meant it had to be fourth for Tottenham, then that's the preference. However, as discussed on Tottenham Arsenal Patreon pod with Clayton, I was really stressing the point that finishing top four just doesn't feel like a big deal. It's nothing to do with Angie's comments. I think it's going against Villa because there's no rivalry between the two teams. And also just knowing that we're at the start of the process. Those who listened to me at the start of the season will know I said so many times, like, where we finish this season doesn't matter. I think that's what Ange is trying to reiterate. I also discussed with Clayton the fact that when we finished above Arsenal 2 years ago, I think the fact that Arsenal ended up in the Europa League rather than the Champions League meant that they had a title challenge the next year. Whereas I don't think they would have if they got in the Champions League. And that's not to say my team will have a title challenge next year, but we've got a thin squad, as did Arsenal 2 years ago. And then to build it up to Champions League level, tough. To build it up to Europa League level is fairly straightforward. You know, if you're having to play like your Oliver Skips and stuff like that in Europa League, there's a smoother process here. Okay? It's much smoother. So it might even be that Tottenham benefit next year by being in Europa League, which is what I think happened to Arsenal last season. So added all in, like, it just doesn't feel like that big of a deal. Of course I want to qualify for the Champions League. Absolutely. And I would take that. I would take the Tottenham finish fourth story here. I would. But it doesn't feel as important as, like, we've gone up against them, so it's bitter. It's the rivalry and stuff as well. I know we're progressing in a good way, and that's why it doesn't feel quite so essential. Whereas, like, when you had Conte, it felt like you got to be in it, got to win now and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like that at the moment. We're heading to a good place, I think, whether it's now or later. John says, without any negative Foden news, I'm thinking Salah and Watkins to Foden and Haaland for free. Need to make up ground and don't need Salah for rest of the season. Okay. Free hit 34, wildcard 36. 6 doublers in 35. Bench boost 37. Thanks. John, tag me your Gameweek 36 wildcard on Twitter, please. Not in my DMs. I'm just interested to see it. Just my intended Gameweek 36 wildcard, as discussed on Planet FPL's not the deadline stream. Tag me in, please, mate. I'm interested to see why 36 you think would be better for you to wildcard than 35, considering Manchester United have Burnley at home and Newcastle have Sheffield United at home. I'm just really interested to see what. It's not criticism. I'm just really interested to see it, John. Andre Klein says, hi James, my only way of getting Haaland this week is by selling Salah or Son. Can do it with 2 free transfers. Do you think it's worth doing the switch? Thank you. Again, strategy is quite important here. How much value do you have in Son? How are you getting Son back? You've got 2 frees. You could use 1 now. If you're not using chips, then it's probably straightforward to get Son back in 35. Like, it's really dependent. But ultimately, if you feel like you really need to captain Erling Haaland this week, then sacrifice Sonny, mate. Zdaya says, hey James, love your content. Would go double Brentford with Bumo and Tony for 1 week punt. Yep, it's highly likely I'll have both tomorrow. Alex, even though I don't think they'll win, by the way, as per the prediction, I've gone for a 2-2. Alex Burmester says, hi James, 2 free transfers. I'd like to keep Son this week, but my only way of doing it is Walker and Gordon to Robertson and Sarabia. Or just Walker to Bradley. Can simply do Son and Walker to Diaz and VVD. Thoughts? I wouldn't be keen on getting Andy Robertson, I must say. That's quite an expensive defender with what you're doing. It's almost like you're spending the money for spending the money, it feels like a little bit. Walker and Gordon to can you not go like Walker? It depends on where you're at, but like, you know, Walker to Lewis or Walker to Bradley, they're highly likely to both start this week. They both become problems afterwards, admittedly. I'd probably be keener on that, Alex. But again, strategy afterwards. Dave Brown says, hi James, wildcard 35 strategy, build into 34, no free hit. I don't have Haaland this week, and I'm leaning towards going without now. Is this the right call? Cheers. Message me when I come back from Newcastle and I'll let you know. Here's the thing. Okay, let's imagine you World Cup 35. So it literally is just a one week decision. Look, if it's going to cost you like a -8 to get him in, then like skip it, right? I don't know. I think there's some great enabling players like Boomo and stuff this week that might help you get there, and it should be considered. That's my take. King of Mandalore says, Liverpool fan here, Kelleher will play. Alisson hasn't been in full training yet. His first game will be Atalanta on Thursday. There you go. There's a Liverpool opinion for you. Matt Lackin says, Diaz and Munez to Garnacho and Højlund for free, or leave it on free hit 34, bench boost 37. No other United players currently. So that's an obvious circumstance of 2 free transfers wanting to be used on a plan to bench boost 37. And I get that. I get it. And I don't mind it. I wouldn't want to sell Diaz this week, but from a strategy perspective, I get it, Matt. Surfer says, hello, James. Views on João Pedro. Is he worth bringing in for Solanke? I feel like I covered João Pedro right near the start. So if you don't have a listen back, my friend, I think he'll probably start, but I think he'll probably be on the left. JFPL says, hi, James. We'll be on free hit 34, World Cup 35. Solanke to Tony, Darwin, Jackson, or Alvarez. Alvarez. Yeah. Free hit 34. 1 week. Alvarez. That's the one. I'd be so surprised. Of all the City attackers, he's the one I'd be most confident starts tomorrow, I think. Alvarez. Listen, leave it late, right? And if you're unsure and you're concerned, then for me, revert to Tony under your strategy. But yeah, I would want to go Alvarez, and I'd be trying to leave that late. If it gets to like 5-2 and you've not got the information, buy Tony. There you go. John said, start Branthwaite or Maguire. Have a good weekend up north. Thank you. I should be back in London at a fairly reasonable time tomorrow. If someone wants to have a drink in King's Cross about 8 o'clock, or actually a bit earlier, maybe even about 7 o'clock, let me know. I might be about. I probably won't be, but I might be. John says, start Branthwaite or Maguire. Have a good weekend up north. I thought I'd read it again just for jokes. Maguire, mate, on the fixtures. Vishnu says, what's your thoughts on a Tony captain, mate? Watching Brentford last couple of weeks, they can't even string a few passes together on the counter. Sounds like you've answered your own question. I don't think I need to add anything. Kanji FPL says, how many more points will Isak outscore Jackson from Gameweek 35 onwards? How long's a piece of string and how fit will he stay? That's what it comes down to. You asked me to predict all of their returns with Jackson's got an extra fixture. They'll probably be quite close, mate, is the honest answer. But yeah, I'd probably rather have Isak. But it'll probably be quite close. FPL Berardi says, sorry, my previous question should have been, talk to me about bringing João Pedro in this week. I'm free hitting in 34. Fancy his game with 33 and 37. Doubles. Hasn't got a double this week. It's 30. Fancy his game with 33 and the 37 doubles. That'll probably clarify it better. Yeah, look, I don't mind it. As I said at the time, I think if it falls into a circumstance where, oh, okay, I need a forward in that price bracket and I'm stuck, yeah, get him. I don't have a problem with it. I said a few times that I thought that we'd get to the end of the season and João Pedro would offer solutions for people. Now, I think it might be one that's more of a discussion at the end. Like, I could see it being one where an Isak or a Højlund or similar gets injured in the running and people go, shit, João Pedro is my only real solution here. I can see more of that scenario. Steven says, best midfielder, 6 million or under. What's your strategy, mate? What's your strategy? Okay, I don't know. Brennan Johnson. Eddie R says, hey James, I'm on free hit 34, bench boost 37. What wanted to do Saka to Foden and Lascelles to Burn? With the Foden doubt, would you burn a transfer? There's no one else I want to move on. Or do Saka to Gordon/Johnson? Come on, you Spurs. Under your circumstance, I would cut Saka. Yeah, under if it's genuinely nothing else. Obviously, look, again, wait if you can till late, see if there's some Foden information, and then that's your path, right? Fairly obvious. But if not, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's 1 week. You'll feel like you can do without Saka for the rest, I think, under your circumstance. So, yeah, I don't mind it. And because he's got the double in 35, although tough, probably there is a slight preference for Johnson. But you know what Anthony Gordon will do to us tomorrow, mate. Birth Media says, will Van der Ven's hamstring stand the test of Gordon, Barnes and Isak? I hope so. That's all I can say to that. Mickey's so quick that unfortunately there is a likelihood that there's going to be some problems for him, and people talking about what is he going to do with his career. Tottenham might be seeing the peak right now, possibly because of that. Hopefully that's not the case and he can stay injury free. Depends how much control Tottenham have and how much he's on the turn and how close people are in front of him and inside of him when we get attacked. So yeah, hopefully. King of Mandalore says, hi mate. I'm not going to read your whole team out, mate. It's too boring for the audio, and I'm really sorry. And to be honest, even when I'm not doing the audio, it's just too much reading out, too much for the team. I'm reading it, and by the time I'm reading the names, I've forgotten half of it, mate. Sorry. Wish you luck. Vishnu says, do you think Nunes gets 90 against Palace with Gakpo and Jota probably on the bench? No. No, I don't. Do I think he starts? Yeah. I bet he's the first one that comes off, though. King of Mandalore says on the previous match, company playing Darwin to Isak and Diaz to Foden. Gordon if Foden is benched. Okay, fine, cool. Vil Ikonen says, need to make 2 moves this week. Building for Gameweek 37. Bench boost. Free hit 34. Is Darwin and Bradley out for Werner and Ruben Diaz? Completely crazy. Timo has decent stats at least. As I covered earlier, I think it feels a little bit early for Werner. He doesn't for Johnson. He does for Werner. That's my take on it at the moment. Is it crazy? No. I get the theory. I get the strategy behind what you're doing. I mentioned Ruben Diaz as maybe the safest City one to go for at the moment based on that sort of strategy. So, like, is it crazy? No. Does it improve your team this week? No. Jamie Alders says, seems crazy to me. You don't think Tottenham will score more against that Newcastle back four? What's the thinking there? I hope I'm wrong, right? But it's just quite honestly, Newcastle's home form is still pretty outstanding. And actually think that they'll sit in quite a lot. I think they'll let us have a lot of the ball. And I think therefore they won't be so stressed. I think in the attacking area is still pretty strong. And I think we might have a lot more of the ball than people anticipate. And I think that will probably suit Newcastle and what they want to do at the top end tomorrow. So, look, I hope I'm wrong. I think most Newcastle fans would tell me that I'm wrong. But that's what I think. Did anybody think Tottenham wouldn't score at Fulham? No. Tanky says, thoughts on Brereton Diaz for his double? I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Playing against Burnley and that Manchester United, I don't mind it. Patrick says, hi James, would you have anything against Son for captain? Against? No, I hope he's the highest scoring player in the game this week, mate. But I do think that there are better options, as I've explained previously. Natasha Bajaj says, good evening, James. Playing catch up with the stream. Have a good game. Enjoy the trip to Newcastle. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Anthony says, hi, James. Best 1 week punt for goalkeeper that's not rare. Thanks. Matt Sells. That's the one I'm going to say. That sounds absurd. Vernal says, evening, James. Given your predicted scores for the weekend, would you play Muniz over Solanke with a big man as second forward? No, I would Solanke over Muniz as per shown on the bench in dilemmas as well. King, I would play probably Petrovic over Onana as per, again, page 5 of the bench in dilemmas, mate. Khalid says, hi, James. Best Douglas Luiz replacements? Anyone? Again, strategy, mate. What? 34, struggling for money? Alexis McAllister, as I answered for Claire earlier, might do you a solution. Heading towards 37, Anthony Gordon, Brennan Johnson. There's a few for you. George Nibb says, torn between free hit 34 or 38. Would like to do final day so I can sell my Arsenal on 35 wildcard to bench boost 37 and bring them back in 38. Could get to 7 doublers for 34 with a hit. The advice I'd give on that is do not let one team affect your chip strategy. For any chips. Don't let one team affect it. Honestly. That would be my take. Arsenal the title might be gone or it might be won. Who knows? Who knows at that stage, right? So, the thing with 3 at 38, this is the point I've been making as well. Let me take you through teams doubling in 37, right? And their 38 fixture. So, Newcastle away to Brentford. Right, Newcastle don't have a squad to rotate. That fixture is perfectly reasonable. Chelsea are at home to Bournemouth. That fixture is perfectly reasonable. Tottenham are at Sheffield United. I don't need to say anymore. Brighton are playing Manchester United. That's the one that looks a bit uglier. Manchester City are playing West Ham at home. So from the teams that are doubling in 37, how badly do you want to get away from them in 38? That's my big point here. That's my big point. And all that comes down to, I want Arsenal and Liverpool. Cool. So buy some bloody Arsenal and Liverpool in game week 38, if that's what you want to do. But I'm going to be sitting there probably in 38 with treble City at home to West Ham, probably at least double Chelsea at home to Bournemouth, treble Tottenham away to Sheffield United, like and bits of Newcastle away to Brentford. Like, how much am I going to want to fuck it up? And I'm talking that from a perspective of bench boost. Under my circumstance, by the way, I'll probably already keep some because I've already used the bench boost. But I think your team's going to look good in 38 from the teams that double in 37. From them teams as well, as I said, Newcastle, even if these teams got nothing to play for, right? Newcastle can't rotate. Manchester United don't rotate. Tottenham don't rotate. Chelsea probably won't rotate. Manchester City, sure, if they've got an FA Cup final the weekend after and the Champions League final, it's up in the air. But then if you're sitting there at Haaland and that's your fear at that point, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to sell him and you're going to buy Salah and stuff like that, right? Or Saka under your circumstance. So that's why I'm not huge on 38. I like the principal idea of free hit 38. There might be shit all over the place. I just think that most people are coming out with players from teams that won't rotate much in 38. That's how I feel. I may well be wrong. I think there'll be more rotation in 37 than 38. JFPL says, hi James, if you're doing non-FPL questions at the end, I won't, so I'll do it now. Rank these four: Celez Ferdinand, Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, Teddy Sheringham. From a Tottenham perspective, and that's all I'm going to answer it as, for me, Sheringham, Defoe, Keane, Ferdinand. But I recognise that from a general Premier League standpoint, very harsh to put Les Ferdinand at the bottom of that list. But from a Tottenham standpoint, Sheringham, Defoe, Keane, Ferdinand for me, mate. Jane, words in capital letters don't make me get to them any quicker, mate. Connor Bradley's the answer to play over Pedro Porro, in my opinion. King of Mandalore, you've given me 4 players and you said start 3. Be easy to say bench 1 from Dallo, Gusto, Udogi, 8, Nori. It's probably Udogi, mate, from that lot. Vishnu says, is Luis Diaz a bad pick if you're going into game with 34 free hit? It's a good pick for this week, in my opinion, and sometimes we shouldn't necessarily overlook that. So the question you want to ask yourself, if you buy him this week and you're free hitting 34, what are you doing with him in 35? Buying something like Johnson? Can you still use him away to West Ham? It possibly depends on his minutes in game week 34. He might look a great option. It's a big picture. Ian Everett says, hello James, have 2 free transfers this week. Free hit 34 is the plan. Looking to go Son to Foden and Jackson to Isak, but both have doubles in 35. Other alternative is Darwin to Isak, 1 free transfer. What would you choose? Get 2 free transfers done, right? I get what people say, there's nothing I want to do, but it must be shit you can make better. No one's got the perfect team as that. So Darwin to Isak, I don't mind. Doesn't feel right, but I don't mind it. Under your strategy, selling, because you're already on Jackson, and then obviously with Sonny as well, selling them feels wrong, mate, and I wouldn't do it. Kylie says, hi James, free at 34, bench boost 37, need funds. Potential upside in selling Gabriel to 4.4 or less mid. If so, I presume you've meant defender there. If so, Van der Ven, Maguire, Branthwaite, Van Heck. Not big on any of them. Van der Ven scoring last week, that probably is not going to happen again this season. Maguire, the threat is there once they're all back fit, so I don't like that in terms of holding to the end. Branthwaite, actually, under the circumstance, I don't mind. I don't mind that, even though he's got the single in 37 out of the players you're picking. Van Heck is probably only useful for you maybe this week and in 37. But Branthwaite's shit for you this week. If you have to move now, I'd probably say Van Heck. Sorry, let me rephrase that. If you have to start this week, I'd probably say Van Heck. If you can get and bench this week, I'd say Branthwaite, which sums it up. There's a list of players there who've got a double in 37, and I'm picking the one from the team who might get relegated who doesn't have a double. Interesting, that. Prince X1 says Saka and Keller out for Onana and Gordon. Free at 34, bench boost 37. Thanks for the great work. Good luck. Jason Stilling says triple captain Haaland. Worth a shout. Free hit 34, bench boost 37. I'd be holding it, mate. Even if it's not Haaland 37, there'll be alternatives you can look at and go in and punt in game week 37. I mean, if let's say Man City have won the title or cannot win the title, then I think suddenly Sonny looks quite good in game week 37 under that circumstance. Even if you doubted Haaland, for example. So there's enough doubt with Haaland that I'd think no. I would, if someone said to me tomorrow, Haaland gets 60 minutes versus Salah's, let's say, projected, I don't know, 80 to 85, I'd still captain Haaland. I just need him to start. But is that right? Chance of getting the whole game and stuff. Slight doubt of whether he starts at all. I don't want to tell you no, but I want to tell you that there's other opportunities. Mind you said bench boost 37. I personally, under that, I'd triple captain Cole Palmer in 35. Would be what I'd do under that. Sorry, I ignored the fact you're bench boosting 37. I would just triple captain Cole Palmer in 35 for me. Vishnu says bench one a Saka, Bumo, Gordon, Tony, and Darwin. Jesus, how big's a? It's not good that. Gordon with reluctance. Damn it, 182 says evening. I was thinking of bringing in KDB as captain this week, but will probably be knee deep in children for deadline, so we'll miss team news. No other City and free at 34. No other chips. Thanks. I would not be bringing KDB in under your knee deep circumstance. Rahul says, hi James, if you're reading the questions, why are you wearing the headphones? It's a bit of noise cancelling. I sit next to quite a busy road. It's just that. I can't hear anything else. My missus and my kid are not here, but my boy can be quite loud. I'm sure many of you will have heard him on the stream before, so it just cuts out the sound for me. It's literally that, mate. I don't hear anything else, so that's all it's for, mate. Prashan says, hi James, thoughts on Alvarez for Munez? If we do get leaks of the City lineup, free at 34, wildcard, that's going to be 35, bench boost 37. So I presume you mean Alvarez in for Munez? Yeah, said I quite like that. Bridgendra says, hi James, Doku versus Bumo for 1 week. Bumo for me comfortably, mate. I think Doku starts, be quite confident of that, but yeah, Bumo for me, mate. My homie says, hi James, enjoy your trip to Newcastle, thank you. Says, on free hit 34, wildcard 35, thinking about Williams, Cunha out for Region and Wood. No other moves really. Also, has Suj ever tried to hypnotise you since he admitted he's into that? No, he hasn't. I'm not sure I want to do that. But he's very much believes he can do it. But what he explained is that you've got to want, the person who's doing it has got to want that to happen to them as well. I don't know, man. Backing Williams for a clean sheet, Cunha to Wood, and something else would probably be the one on agenda for me, mate. Maybe just that move gives you a little bit more money in the bank to look at something else. Maybe. I don't know. Trophy FPL, hello Mo, hope you're well. Good to see you doing some good content at the moment, buddy. He says, hope you're good, mate. Keep up the good work. You too. Vishnu says, players to captain if you're trying to catch up on your mini-league rivals. Is this the week or not? Any week's a week, mate, under that circumstance, pal. Benedict Troy says, evening James, in the top 100 in Sky. Nicely done. And the City fixture potentially moving is doing my head in. How likely is it to move? Is it a straight 50-50 if City get through? No, it's not. It's basically 25%. So just think of it on, well, no, it's more than that now, isn't it? Okay. Right. City going through is probably 75-80% now. Then it's 50-50 which day. So it's not quite 50-50. It's a little bit under. It's still more likely to stay where it is than move. But it could move. It's probably about circa 65-35, something like that. I can't really tell you. There'll be someone who's cuter on the maths than me to be able to define that better for you. It's awkward. As I explained on Wednesday's pod on Sky, if you are setting to go back to Manchester City in that midweek, you need to have it that it's from Arsenal as part of your plan. That's what it's got to be. I explained that to Serge, and make sure you can go. This won't make sense to the FPL guys, but make sure you can go from Saka to Haaland. That's what you need to do under that sort of circumstance. I would also suggest, whatever the circumstance, they're going to play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. You know, don't bank on your likes of Rodri or Foden getting a couple of games and stuff. It's not necessarily on, mate. So bear that in mind. You may not want to go back. It might be easy, but if it's a single game day, you obviously want something for captaincy. Then it gets easy. You see the team, etc. It's probably about 65% it stays where it is. Yo says the best 1 week differential punt. I'm going to say Luis Diaz if that falls under your category. And I'm going to do one more because I see we've just passed 7 o'clock. But I was having so much fun. Mo says, hi James, free at 34, bench boost 37. I got a benching headache. I've got Haaland, Solanke, Isak, Saka, Salah, Son, Palmer. Who to bench next, please? Thanks. From that list, with reluctance, Dominic Solanke. He's not scoring at the moment. Not much, anyway. Right, I'll leave it there, guys, because I've done an hour and I hope I've covered the majority of stuff off. Sorry to those I didn't get to. But I wish you very well for the weekend. I hope your arrows are green. For those watching live, smash a like, hit the sub button. Next week, I can tell you, Game Review podcast Monday, Clash of Correspondence Tuesday is shit, James, who is it? Wolves versus Bournemouth ahead of the double with Bradley Parker and Neil Grover. Wednesday, Sky, be an Ask James stream on Thursday next week, and that's because there'll be a Friday late afternoon, early evening Merseyside derby clash of correspondence, Everton versus Liverpool with Sean Norton and Dan Lord. There will be a deadline stream for game week 34 because Tottenham ain't playing, so I've got no excuse. I believe the deadline stream will be at 12:30 p.m. UK time next Saturday. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. We'll have an additional 5 podcasts for you next week from Intermediate Plus tier, and there'll be additional video content throughout the week, each midweek day for advanced tier patrons as well. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. But just to say, thanks very much everyone who contributed live in the chat. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everyone. And for the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please, man child.